So I wanted to check out this video for a couple of days now, but I haven't really got the opportunity to do so because all of the recent Ashes of Creation fallout I've been covering on this channel. If you haven't kept up with the news, make sure to check out these videos because right now Ashes is truly a gift that keeps on giving. But regardless, today we're gonna take a step back, relax, and watch some Guild Wars 2 stuff because it's been a minute, and this title actually caught my attention. If Guild Wars 2 just isn't clicking for you, then these reasons are likely why. I'll remind you, I was a filthy World of Warcraft player, and then I tried out Guild Wars 2. I ended up quitting after 2 months because the game just didn't click for me. I didn't get what the hell was going on. And nowadays, skip forward 4 years later, I'm playing Guild Wars 2 again, and I'm having a blast. So a lot has changed, mostly my mentality, but at the same time, I'm really excited to hear what this man has to say because he most likely came from the same background as I am. So let's watch this video and see what he has to say.
What's going on, gamers? Welcome back to the channel. I do hope you are doing well.
I watched a couple of his videos before. He's great.
Guild Wars 2, because for the uninitiated, Guild Wars 2 is kind of a strange MMO. For some players, it grabs them instantly. You step into Tyria, you really feel the weight of the world, the spread of the land, and you immediately know that, okay, there is something special here. But for others, it just doesn't land. And well,
damn, he looks sick.
It can certainly feel confusing. You have a real lack of direction. And ultimately, well, that can sometimes lead to boredom, and then you end up uninstalling before you ever really understand what the game is trying to do. And as I said, I know this because, well, at one point, this was me. Many of you will know.
Yeah, there it is. He came from the same background as I am. I knew it. And it makes sense. He's probably a WoW player because he's bald. I mean, I'm having a wig, so you can tell. But at the same time, like, completely understandable. I had the exact same experience. You know, you come in from World of Warcraft, you try a new MMO, and the game just feels so directionless. I mean, you truly have not a damn clue about what to do because you make the decision to jump from vertical MMO to Guild Wars 2, you're just bound to have some issues because it's so confusing after being used. You know, after being so used to that carrot on a stick mentality, which, by the way, I don't dislike. I actually pretty like that. But at the same time, you got so used to that, your mind can't really comprehend anything different. And Guild Wars 2 is vastly different. And it can definitely feel like it lacks some sort of direction, because whenever you ask people what you're supposed to be doing right now, everyone just tells you the same damn answer. Do whatever you want. Guys, are you aware how confusing it is when you tell a degenerate WoW player that they can do whatever they want? We are so used to looking at 7 different graphs and install 20 different add-ons to play a game that is so easy. You can tell us, just do whatever you want. We can't do that. We're so dumb. Like, help us, please, for the love of God. Tell us to do, like, the regular stuff of Tyria. And also, it doesn't really help when the game is really bad at the beginning. Like, the base world of Tyria isn't even comparable to the rest of the stuff, like the expansions. The expansions are significantly better, and I'm about to start them soon, but I watched a couple of videos and I already know some of the things that, you know, awaits there in the dark, and yeah, they're way superior to the base game. So it kind of doesn't help, and obviously very difficult for us WoW players to actually accept the game for what it is at the start. Like, at the first go, it's super difficult.
But I had bounced off of Guild Wars 2 multiple times over the years. I would simply download it, play a couple of times, feel like I wasn't really getting anywhere, kind of getting frustrated and it wasn't clicking for me, and then I would just quit. And then I tried again, thinking maybe I'd missed something, only to repeat the same cycle and quit again. Well, I'm happy to say that after a third time, it clicked, and I'm really happy I gave it another shot, because now I'm 400 plus hours deep. I'm invested into the world, the combat, the story, the end game, in ways that I never thought I would be. Guild Wars 2 has genuinely become one of my favorite MMORPGs of all time, and I do not say that lightly. So in this video, I want to talk about why Guild Wars 2 perhaps just isn't clicking for you, and why that struggle actually kind of makes sense. This video, I guess, is going to be aimed at the many players that come across from titles such as Final Fantasy XIV, ESO, Lost Ark, World of Warcraft, the list goes on.
Hey, that's me!
And for those of you that have tried Guild Wars 2,
he's talking about me,
just can't seem to make it work. My point is, if you felt lost, underwhelmed, or slightly directionless, then I want you to know that your initial reaction is completely normal. One of the very first things that throws people off about Guild Wars 2 is how little the game guides you compared to traditional MMOs.
Exactly. And this is what I spoke about earlier. I mean, the lack of direction is crazy. You truly feel so confused because, again, we're so used to vertical MMOs where they land you at a certain zone. You go like, okay, grab quest, kill 10 bears, give some random NPC 10 bear asses, and that's it. Like, you're done. That's the quest. You level up. It's fine. All fine and dandy. You get a skill maybe, and that's it. Now, Guild Wars 2 isn't like that because you have level scaling. So you can essentially just level up. And since levels don't matter in Guild Wars 2, you can level up way above the cap of a certain zone. And then you can go back to that zone and do everything there. And you're kind of confused. Oh, do I need to do the quest here? Do I need to grab all the portals, all the stuff? It's something that is, like, it's an uncharted territory for us, like, vertical Andes. We don't understand that logic of collecting stuff. Because Guild Wars 2, at the end of the day, is just a collectible game. It has a ton of achievements. Like, ton of them. Because that's the progression system of a horizontal MMO. Right? It's the achievements. Some are hard, some are like, extremely easy, some extremely difficult. You have jumping puzzles, all that stuff, like millions of stuff to do. But the problem is you can essentially do it all at once. And that is really problematic for us vertical Andes because we're so used to being spoon-fed levels and do stuff at the right moment when the game just tells you, oh, you can do that right now. We can't really choose for ourselves because we're so dumb. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of good in addition to that because it makes it easier. You don't have to decide. You can just be your mind can be completely numb and you can go, oh, that's fine. Okay, now I need to do this. Cool, awesome, great. You don't have to choose. And when that decision is being taken away from you, it actually takes out a lot of the effort of thinking. And sometimes that can be a good thing, especially if you want to lose yourself in an MMO. But in Guild Wars 2, it has to work differently because you manually need to do that. You manually need to set yourself some goals and think, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on, and this is what I'm going to do for the next few days, week, months, whatever, right? So right now my goal is finishing Living World Season 1, so I'm going to do that. And on the way, I'm most likely going to try to get some legendary parts because I'm crafting Sunrise, the first legendary I want to own. And yeah, I mean, I manually need to do that. It doesn't come to me alone. I don't kill a boss and then Sunrise drops. It doesn't happen this way. And it's very difficult for us to process, at least at first.
Online RPGs are built around a very clear and defined structure. You log in, you get a quest log, you follow the markers from one objective to the next.
He's saying the exact same
thing. You level
thing.
up, you get new gear, and the game essentially pushes you forward step by step. It's a nice, neat little journey. And there is some comfort in that. You always know what you're supposed to be doing. Well, Guild Wars 2 rips off the Band-Aid and says, well...
Exactly. It's crazy saying the exact same things I've said. I haven't rewatched this, by the way, obviously. I mean, it's just crazy, but this is how vertical Andes think. Just to, give you a glimpse of the beyond.
Deliberately rejects that design entirely. There is no traditional quest log here in a way that most players would expect, at least. Instead of being handed a checklist of tasks, the game drops you into a living world filled with dynamic events, and it encourages you to simply explore. The renown hearts of the game, events, and world activities replace the standard NPC quest system, which can feel incredibly disorienting if you're used to a structured progression method. When I first played, I remember wandering around thinking, okay, but what am I actually meant to be doing? The game wasn't telling me where to go, other than kind of pointing out some vistas and bits.
Man, all the stuff that he's doing in the video seems incredibly fun, man. I just experienced the base world of Tyria, and that's it. What in God's name is waiting for me on the horizon? I actually can't wait to reach the good part of Guild Wars 2, man. I'm so glad I 100% Tyria, so now I just need to do Living World Season 1 and essentially be done with it. I know there's more after that, but I can go through that again.
So I could do along the way, so my comfort of direction from other
Not that
MMOs
difficult.
was taken away, and that made me feel kind of uneasy. But that is the beauty of Guild Wars 2. You can pretty much just follow your nose, enjoy your journey, and explore the world. That's what it wants you to do. What Guild Wars 2 really wants from you is for you to follow your own curiosity. You're meant to stumble across events, help other players organically climb viewpoints, vistas, just because they look interesting, and slowly discover Tyria at your own pace. It's less about ticking boxes here,
yes,
and more about experiencing the world.
And WoW players would never understand that, because we are too simplified. It is what it is, man. Like we don't know, like, talk with other player, do event, what, brain malfunctioning. Like, no. Well, we're literally incapable of doing that. We're too dumb, man. We need to actually train and reprogram our brain to play a different game other than WoW. It's so sad, but it's true, man. It took me ages to do that. I couldn't play different MMOs. It is what it is.
Some players, that freedom is amazing. For others, it feels directionless and can even feel pointless to some extent. And honestly, both reactions, if you're new to the game, of course, are completely valid. Another huge barrier for new players is the mindset that they bring with them from other MMOs. And I say this time and time again. Most of us are trained over the years of gaming in general to expect a very specific progression loop. In MMOs, for example, you quest, you level up, you get better gear, you run dungeons, you replace that gear with stronger versions, and eventually you move into raids and high-end content where the cycle repeats at a higher level.
Play that
this
droid.
is what you and I more commonly know as vertical progression, where your power constantly increases, your numbers are getting bigger, and your gear is regularly replaced with something stronger. In Guild Wars 2, that just doesn't happen here, really, at least on the overall grand scheme of things. Once you hit level 80, your gear progression largely stops climbing in the traditional sense. You don't keep chasing higher and higher item levels forever. You don't replace your entire build every expansion, have to rework things from the ground up. And for players coming from games like WoW or Lost Ark or Final Fantasy XIV, this can feel really odd. In fact,
and also, it can be not fun. Not all players are wrong. I know a lot of Guild Wars 2 players are, kind of angry with me saying this. And by the way, guys, I'll mention it again. I really love Guild Wars 2. But at the same time, I can bring you a perspective of the WoW player you most likely don't want to hear. But I'm here for it anyway, so I'm gonna say it. Now, you need to understand. It's true that some players don't understand horizontal progression, but you also need to realize that a lot of players do understand it and they just don't like it. And that's fine. It's not for everyone. It wasn't for me back in the day. 4 years have passed. I grew up and now it's for me. So everyone can change. Guild Wars 2 will stay the same after like 10 years. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you will always gain new players because some players would just be tired from vertical progression, and that's pretty much it. But you need to understand that it's not for everyone. Some people love to chase that carrot on a stick. Some people love that power fantasy. I love it. I always say in almost every video that I talk about this topic of vertical versus horizontal, I still love vertical progression more than horizontal. It's a fact. I still love World of Warcraft more than Guild Wars 2. Classic World of Warcraft. Hell nah, the retail. I don't touch retail. Don't get this garbage near me. Because I love vertical progression. It's fun for me. I love the power fantasy. I love the fact that I was level 1 and was in drabs, just wearing rags essentially. And then I became this insane hero towards the end. Now, new expansion comes out, everything just resets and you start from scratch. I know. I'm aware of that. I don't care. It doesn't bother me one bit. I love that. It's like PoE. In PoE, you do the craziest shenaniganry ever. You reach godlike levels, and then the next league, everything resets. You start from scratch. That's fun. I love that. That endless chase of a carrot on a stick, I enjoy it. It's fun for me. And I mean, I know many of you players watching this, you wouldn't agree with me, but it's okay. We can enjoy both of the games at the same time at the end of the day, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm here to tell you that some players just think that verticality is better. There is no right and wrong. It's okay to even think that horizontal is better. It just depends on what you love and enjoy. That's it.
Remember hitting level 80 for the first time and thinking, okay, what am I actually doing now? Do I need to grind for something else? Should I be chasing more gear, more power? And that's not the case. What I failed to understand at the time is that Guild Wars 2 isn't about vertical power progression.
That?
It's built around a horizontal progression model, and you'll hear this thrown out all the time in pretty much every single Guild Wars 2 video you'll ever watch. Rather than get constantly stronger in gear, your focus now shifts mainly into fleshing out your account and the skills attached to your masteries. You will unlock mounts that change how you move through the world and unlock skills with them directly. You will gain...
But that can and should be in vertical MMOs as well. I don't care, guys. Please copy Guild Wars 2 achievement system. It's superior to anything you've ever seen in your life. Every developer that works on an MMO, maybe Ashes of... Oh, whoops, my bad. No, maybe for MMOs in the future, right? Please copy Guild Wars 2 achievement system. Please do. It is so good. Make it account-wide like they do. And that's it. You have a perfect MMO. Just do that. Like, it doesn't matter if it's vertical or horizontal. Like, just do it. And while you do it, just copy the mount system while you're at it. And don't do it like Blizzard had, because, that's bad.
Masteries that let you glide, bounce on mushrooms, ride ley lines, and everything in between. At level 80, in fact, you're probably now working your way through to your first elite specialization, which completely changes how your profession plays. I would argue that it is an entirely different profession / class altogether. It really changes that much. Ultimately, my point is there is more that you can do in this game.
That is true.
Rather than just grind for gear. And that shift in thinking is hard. And if you come in...
By the way, random thing I want to say about elite specialization, I really wished they had quests tied into them. This is something that I came up with recently. Make sure to let me know what you think about that. And I really think that that would be helpful to newer players. Just kind of feel like they're more connected with the elite specialization they chose. And it would also could serve as a great opportunity to just teach them the class. I think that would have been dope. Just make it like a really fun quest that kind of ties into the class. And that would have been good. Because whenever you just put skill points into the elite specialization and that's it, it's kind of boring. And I mean, you instantly transform into that class, which doesn't really make any sense. Right? Let's say you're playing a Guardian and you choose the Dragon Hunter. I mean, cool, you can wield a bow and arrow, but if we had a quest that now tells us, oh, you gained the ability to do so because you did this and that, that would have been amazing. I would have loved that. And it would let us process all of this information, like, very slowly and methodically. I think everyone would enjoy that. I don't think this is something we should disagree on. But, hey, you know what? Maybe in the future it can happen.
Expecting a traditional gear treadmill, well, Guild Wars 2
I would have liked that.
Shallow, ultimately, in reality, if that's the way you're looking at it, and you will be playing a very different game because of that. Another thing that confuses a lot of players that I see, whether it be online or in-game, is the kind of language Guild Wars 2 uses for its endgame content. If you come from other MMOs, you understand terms like dungeons, raids, trials, or even the word mythic. These words immediately tell you what to expect. Guild Wars 2, in some ways, uses different terminology.
Fractals, bro! What the hell is a fractal, dog? I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Oh, you have dungeons in the game? Yes, but nobody do them. Enjoy. Like, and whenever you try to do a dungeon and... oh, there's a really great story in here. Everyone just finished, just killed their last boss, and you're like behind still watching the dialogue. Yeah, it's really weird. It's great, this really weird thing where you have just a language barrier inside of your, the game that you play together, and it kind of sucks, but I do understand it. The Guild Wars 2 is so vastly different from many other MMOs. It is what it is, man. It's just completely uncharted ground. It's uncharted territory for us WoW players in vertical Andes. But you can learn it. It's fairly easy. Even though I still don't get like most of the stuff yet, I will in the future. It doesn't matter. For the most part, it actually incentivizes you to ask in the chat, and people would always answer. I was never encountered with a refusal for any of my questions. Like, never. I was always being kindly told, hey, WoW player, like, screw out from our game. No, I'm just kidding. Like, they always told me with kindness, like, what I needed to hear. That's it.
You hear a lot about fractals, about strike missions.
But they do scoff at you when you tell them you're from World of Warcraft. That's for certain.
Instead. And for many players, those terms don't really carry the same weight. They sound unfamiliar, maybe even quite casual, depending on what you're used to, which can make people assume the game lacks serious endgame content. But ultimately, that assumption is wrong. Guild Wars 2 absolutely has raids, and it is the more challenging content in the game. It also has higher tier fractals that can be really, really difficult. Strike missions can range from really beginner-friendly content, like the ones that are seen
what
in
the God's
Iceberg
name is
Saga,
a strike
all
mission?
the way to teetering on being very difficult with new mechanics introduced depending on which one you're doing. The difference is that Guild Wars 2 doesn't place raids at the center of its identity. I think that's the point here, at least not in the way that games like WoW or Final Fantasy XIV do.
What? You don't do raids? Game sucks.
They exist, but
the WoW
they
players,
aren't the main pillar of
here.
progression here, which can make them feel less visible to newcomers. So if you've looked at Guild Wars 2 from the outside and thought it was just a casual MMO with no real difficulty at all, or you simply just weren't looking at the full picture. Speaking of difficulty, that leads us into our next topic, and one of the most common complaints I see from a lot of
Guild Wars 2 is hella
easy to get
easy
into the game is that it's just far too easy, especially in the early game.
I said it so many times. When you're starting Guild Wars 2, you are a living god of death. I mean, you are. You are. It is what it is. And I know that the end game is super tough and you need to be extremely skilled at the game. I know, guys, I know. Okay, I understand. I get it. I watch the comments. I know. But at the same time, you need to understand you need to have a difficult early game for players to actually experience like the later part on a much higher scale. You really want them to just see the difference between, oh, I thought this was difficult. No, that's difficult. You need to make that shift so players could actually enjoy it better. When you're just a god, literally a walking god, all throughout the earlier parts of the game, it just makes your mind go numb. You kind of used to autopilot everything. It doesn't matter which ability you even click, and it doesn't teach you anything. That's really the worst part here, because you don't learn how to do your rotation better. You're not really incentivized to test any new weapons or items that you may not find, that you may find or may not find, and it kind of sucks. I really wish the game would have been like more difficult at the start, for sure. 100%. And obviously you can change the quest to go alongside that. You can make them more easier to fulfill. You can lower the threshold so you don't have to kill like 30 creatures to complete a quest. You can make it like 10 and that's it, right? You can change that for sure. But I really wish they would have made the early content a little bit more difficult.
And honestly, in the base open world, that criticism isn't wrong at all. Most enemies will die fairly quickly, many events are quite forgiving. You can kind of wander through huge parts of Tyria without really being threatened that much, and for players that are used to harsh difficulty curves, this can make the game feel kind of trivial, but in reality, this is done by design. The base game is designed to be an accessible, wonder-filled adventure. It's meant to feel like a vibrant fantasy world where exploration is the reward, not surviving.
But part of exploration is defeating hard enemies. That's part of exploration, at least for me, and I know for many other people as well. So I disagree with that. That's the first point I disagree with. If this is by design, then I think this design is bad. That's it.
Supposed to feel like a heroic figure traveling through the beautiful landscapes, not like you're constantly on the brink of death all the time and just struggling to go about your day-to-day. That doesn't mean that
But that's the fun part, and that's why so many people, when I started playing Turtle WoW, like a couple of months ago, so many players, and I mean it literally felt like half the server was playing hardcore, where if you die even once, it's over. You're out. So a lot of people do love that difficulty. They do. It may sound weird to you Guild Wars 2 players if you haven't played anything else, but they do love that.
Challenge doesn't exist.
I know
Let's
I am.
not get that twisted. There are champion enemies, there are meta events, and certain world bosses that can absolutely wipe unprepared players. But the game doesn't force difficulty on you, at least early on, unless you go looking for it. Now, everything changes once you reach Heart of Thorns, which is the first expansion. Suddenly, the open world becomes significantly more dangerous.
Interesting.
Enemies definitely hit harder, maps are more vertical and complex, and events often require some coordination with other players. You will find that you can't just mindlessly wander around on the floor when you get to this expansion because, well, pocket raptors will eat you and kill you over and over and over again. For many players, including myself, this is where Guild Wars 2 finally starts to feel like a proper challenge, at least in the open world sense. It's also where the game begins to really shine in terms of design and atmosphere. Let's talk about loot, because loot is a huge thing in MMOs. It's something that's become almost a staple in the genre.
You have
and
loot overload in
sticking
Guild Wars 2
point for new players. In most MMOs, your sense of reward is tied directly to gear drops. You kill enemies, you see rare items, and you feel like your power is steadily increasing. Well, Guild Wars 2 doesn't really operate that way. Once you reach level 80, you kind of stop seeing constant gear upgrades, at least in the form of drops. You don't replace your armor every few hours, you don't regularly find dramatically better weapons just by killing random mobs. A lot of players often hit this point and feel kind of lost, wondering what the point of loot even is. In fact, when I first started, I even questioned that myself. The truth is that Guild Wars 2 is fundamentally an economy-driven game built around materials and gold. Almost everything you pick up can be salvaged into crafting materials or sold on the trading post for gold.
And that's something that I really love about this game. It feels really good to start working towards crafting my first legendary. I'm trying to craft Sunrise because, I don't know, it's what everyone does, right? It's the coolest looking sword in the entire game, probably. Well, not probably. It's so old. I mean, there must have been so much more that I haven't seen yet. But at the same time, it looks incredible. And actually working towards getting all of the materials and stuff is so much fun. Like this is great, man. Like it's really amazing, and I'm just scratching the surface. But at the same time, I'm feel excited. Like this is great. But also having instantaneous drops is exciting because it does create that moment of, okay, I need to roll for an item that dropped from a boss, and if I get it, man, that's fire. But Guild Wars 2 does let you get every weapon you want. You don't have to compete for it by simply working hard for it. So it's kind of a matter of luck versus hard work, and it really depends on the players. Some players would prefer luck, some players would prefer hard work. I'm certainly a player who prefers hard work because, whenever you don't get lucky, and I can give you a really good example. When I played Classic World of Warcraft back in the day, I played a Shadow Priest, and I really wanted that necklace from Ragnaros. But since I was a Shadow Priest, I was at the bottom of the list of people who want it because you had mages and warlocks, which were significantly superior. So everyone just kind of ignored me and like, oh, you don't need that, you're garbage, we only need you for the passive. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So I kind of got skipped for the items. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, the nature of WoW. So I much rather Guild Wars 2 gearing system on that. But at the same time, I love the random loot chance drop. It's so much fun when done correctly. Obviously, you have like really shitty guilds out there that won't give you anything, but if it's done correctly, this is really fun. It's really exciting whenever you kill that boss and you just rush towards him to see the loot drop. There is a ton of excitement to that. You know what? Man, I don't know what I like better now that I think about it. I think it's a mix of both. I think a good MMO will do a mix of both, where you collect materials, or maybe the materials themselves are really difficult to get, and then you kind of combine and take the best of both systems. Maybe that's the future.
These two resources fuel nearly everything in the game. You can use them to craft weapons. More notably, you'll need a lot of materials for crafting legendaries. You can, of course, use the gold to buy more significant materials from other vendors. You can buy sigils for your weapons. The list ultimately goes on. Now, Ascended gear is slightly different, which sits above exotic, and this can drop from certain activities like the big meta events, but most of your progression isn't about random drops. It's about accumulating resources, completing achievements, advancing your wizard's vault, and working towards long-term goals like legendary gear. At first, you might feel like this is slightly unsatisfying because you don't get that immediate dopamine hit of the powerful item drop, but trust me, over time, you realize that almost everything you collect truly has value, even if you don't see its importance right away. Let's talk about another huge reason people really struggle to stay in Tyria sometimes, and well, that's the base game story. Another reason many players
that's what I talked about.
off of Guild Wars 2 is the base game story, and that really hurts me.
And by the way, one point I want to make about the legendaries, I think once you collect a full set of legendaries, you kind of don't feel incentivized to do more than that. And I really hope that wouldn't be my case, but I'm afraid it will be. This is something I'm really afraid, that after I kind of finish my first legendary set, I'll be done with it. But at the same time, I want to be done with all the story and I want to experience everything for the first time at least. So even if I want to quit after that, I think it would be fine. Because I would get an enormous amount of hours into the game before I'll manage to even reach that far. So I would have had my fill by then, for sure.
To say, but it's true, and this is a fair criticism. The original base game story is not the game's
Trash.
strongest writing. I know that, and I'm sure ArenaNet know that. In fact, ArenaNet was still figuring out...
Bro, I recently did the Zaiten fight. Oh my god. Holy, it was so garbage. My god. And I know all the comments are going to swarm right now. No, it was supposed to be a 5-man dungeon and I didn't have the budget and the time, and it was supposed to be a ground fight. Guys, they should have went back and fixed it. Like, why are we keeping a half-baked fight into the core game of Guild Wars 2? Like, why are we doing that? We shouldn't do that. It's bad. They should fix it. 100%. Enough's enough, man. The fight was so bad. All you had to do is stay and like shoot him with a laser beam. Like, it was so boring. It was so boring. And it's so unfortunate because they gassed him up so much during the campaign. You really couldn't wait to fight him. And the zones looked incredible. The ship looked incredible. Everything looked phenomenal. Even the giants that like threw feces at you like from afar, like woo. That's it. All you did was shoot them from a cannon, and that's what you do for 90% of the battle. It's not fun. Also that, and you just fight undead chickens. That's it. That's literally the fight. They need to completely rework that fight if they want to get more players. If that fight would have been good, I bet more people would have stayed. Because whenever players just saw that fight, and that includes myself, because at the time I quit after the Zaitan fight. So whenever people see that fight, they're like, yo, is this what's gonna wait for us in the future? No, we dip. Like, they're not gonna try and actually pay money for the expansions if the free base game was garbage. They're not gonna do that.
Their direction in general, many of the characters in the base game were somewhat forgettable. In fact, there were probably too many that you were introduced to early on. Some of these storylines also drag on far longer than they should. Now, compared to the later content, it can...
So many unnecessary quests during the campaign where you just walked around and you did stuff that nobody cares about. They need to cut it. They really need to cut the dead air.
Feel disjointed and kind of uneven. If that was your first impression of Guild Wars 2's narrative, it makes total sense that you might have been underwhelmed. But what many players never reach is where the story truly comes into its own. In my personal opinion, Living World Season 1 onward is much, much better, and the storytelling improves dramatically. Characters become more compelling, the world feels more interconnected, and the stakes definitely grow far higher, and there are some real emotional moments in here. The Elder Dragon Saga in particular is genuinely some of the best long-form storytelling I've experienced in the MMO genre. It's emotional, it's tragic, and deeply memorable. Looking back now, actually, it stands as one of my favorite video game narratives of all time. If you have only played the base game and assumed that that was the peak of Guild Wars 2's storytelling, well, you missed the best part by a long shot. It's not even close. If I was to ask myself why Guild Wars 2 eventually clicked for me after so many failed attempts, it was because I stopped ultimately trying to force the mold that I have kind of assumed from other MMOs. I stopped rushing to max levels, stopped focusing on the gear, and I just let myself experience the game. The best thing you can do when coming into Guild Wars 2 is to have a fresh mindset. Don't treat it like any other MMO. Just play the game for what the game offers. Explore the maps properly, join random events, learn your class, learn your rotation, dip your toe into some of the endgame content like fractals, strikes, get into raids if you can, because what lays here, ready to be explored, is a fantastic world full of fantastic people. So I guess my point here is, if Guild Wars 2 didn't click for you for the first time, that doesn't mean it never will. If you're looking for an endless vertical gear grind and constant power spikes, then yes, of course, this game probably will frustrate you, and it may just not be for you in general. But if you're willing to slow down, explore, and embrace a different style of progression, you might just discover one of the most unique and rewarding MMOs ever made. Just a quick side note.
And again, this is something what most people don't understand, is that you can actually play Guild Wars 2 while playing another game. That's the beauty of this game. You can do whatever you want and come back 10 years later, and your character would be at the exact same position it was when you left. Perfect. Like, absolutely perfect. And I think that kind of what makes it so appealing to me nowadays, that I'm actually making content on YouTube. Because I don't have much time to play an MMO like I used to back in the day, and I don't have that time to sync. So Guild Wars 2 is kind of like this great escapism where I can just chill. And recently I, discovered 100% of Tyria. I did that at my own time, blasted some music, and man, was it so fun doing so. It was truly so fun, just exploring the zones, doing stuff at my own pace, encounter random events. It was great. It was truly great. And then I just logged out, and that's it. I mean, it was amazing. I love that. And honestly, I'm just going to keep doing that in the future, just with the expansions. But at the same time, I do understand why people that are so hooked on dopamine rushes, especially nowadays, they won't be into Guild Wars 2. It's so difficult to throw someone like that and put them in the world of Tyria and just tell them, yo, do whatever you want, chief. Explore, enjoy. They don't really care. They want to be told what to do. Right now, I think that today the players have been doggy trained to be like these drones that just kind of do whatever they're told. I mean, it's retail WoW mentality and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, Guild Wars 2 is going to have a really hard time pulling those players in. But you know what? It actually may be beneficial for the game because you don't want them in. I've interacted with them. They're not good, okay? It's not a great experience. But that being said, it seems to be the end of the video pretty much. It was a phenomenal video. I actually agreed with him on almost every point here. And yeah, I mean, what else can I say? By the way, I'm going to leave a link in the description for this video. Obviously, give him a like and a sub. Great video. I watched a couple of his videos before. Phenomenal content creator. But yeah, I mean, looking at what he's playing, man, I'm so excited for the future. It seems like I barely scratched the surface. I mean, Tyria looks like ass compared to this. This looks incredible. And don't tell me where this location is. I want to discover this one for myself. There's so many things that I still need to experience. But hopefully, in the future, I'm going to have a blast doing so. I'm sure. I'm sure, though. I mean, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I think it's not really a fight of verticality versus horizontal. I think it just, you can play both. And that's pretty much it.